I'm Ben Musgrave and I'm the writer of Stunted Trees and Broken Bridges. So the writing process for the play began, as with all the white-touring plays that I've done, with a workshop day where we gathered together experts and young people and interested parties around the subject of neuroscience. So at the workshop day we kind of had talks about all different kinds of things, so from implanting chips in nervous systems to smart drugs with applications for the military, to being able to communicate with people in vegetative states through reading their minds in MRI machines, to lie detection, and to the thing that I ended up kind of becoming really interested in, which is the idea that you might be able to look into somebody's brain and say, okay, maybe there's something wrong with your brain that we either need to fix or in fact can't fix. And that to me seemed like an absolutely terrifying idea, that there might be something wrong with one's brain, and you could see it. Anyway, so this workshop day was really interesting and provoking, and it really had a kind of real impact on the way I thought. And I went away and came up with two ideas, two synopses that we put to our advisory group of experts to get their responses to. And they picked one idea, which was this one called Stunted Trees and Broken Bridges. And then I wrote the play. And it's actually been quite a back and forth of a process, and there have been a large number of people who've kind of had a lot of investment in the script, and the sense that there are real stakes in terms of how we represent science and how we represent the different characters representing maybe different points of view, and how, making sure that we get everything right has been really important. And so to some extent it's been a slow process, just kind of testing the play and letting it grow and become more truthful. But hopefully we're at a point now where it's working well. It's always kind of a bit mysterious and mystical and difficult to kind of pinpoint where characters came from. It's quite possible that the first thing that the character of Emerson, who is kind of one of the main characters in the play, where he came from was just the name Emerson. I was reading a book about neuroscience which talked about a poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And for some reason that seemed like a good first name. So he began there. But I also, just at the very same time, was becoming interested in free running. I think I'd probably seen some film about free running or something like that. So I was quite interested in the brain and the body and kinesthetics and the movement and that kind of thing. So there was that. And so yeah, I kind of got this idea for a boy who was told that he had antisocial behaviour disorder. But does he not? That's the question that the play kind of asks. But also, can you tell? And so there was this one boy, Emerson, and then there was this other character called Miles, and I don't know where he arrived, but he was one of those characters who just turned up at the page, and I started writing him, and he was a bit creepy and a bit clever and a bit manipulative, and he just turned up one day in the scene and started doing odd things, and I kind of felt like I had his voice quite early on. And so for Miles, he was kind of one of those characters that was just a kind of a pleasure to write. And actually he's grown and matured and become probably more sympathetic and likeable, hopefully. But yeah, he just turned up. Now Hayley is a character who's been on a bit of a journey through the play for me as well. But she's Emerson's girlfriend, but she's coming from a place where she doesn't expect much out of life, and she's been constantly being told that she shouldn't expect much from life, and that she's stupid and that she's nobody. And to some extent that's meant that she's become kind of needy and dependent on Emerson, when perhaps he's pushed that too far and hasn't been good to her. And for Hayley, her journey is kind of about realising that actually she does have potential and she does have promise, and that she can survive on her own. She doesn't need someone else in order to validate her and make her who she is. At the end of the play, she ends up becoming a lawyer, which is kind of the natural progression for her, I feel. Jeanette's an interesting character, and she kind of really belongs to the future in a sense, because when I was writing the play in 2012, the government started talking about privatising parts of the police service, if it hasn't already started already. And that seemed to me a kind of slightly horrifying and shocking idea, that the way we are ruled and controlled and looked after might be done by people who are out to make money. And I'm not saying Jeanette's solely out to make money, but Jeanette is what I have called, I don't know even if they properly exist yet, a neuroforensics person. She runs her own company that's been contracted in to do neuroforensics for the Metropolitan Police Service. And the question is, what values does she have, actually? What values can a private company bring to something as sort of tender and sensitive and delicate as this? What are the challenges for getting all these kind of diversity of different things going on in this field into a 55-minute play? Well, that's difficult, really. And to me, I hope that this play is, well, first of all, that the play cannot possibly hope to contain all the different exciting things that are going on in the field of neuroscience and neurotechnology. That's simply not possible, and it would be an awful play if it even tried to. And I hope that the play is actually a starting point for discussion, and that will begin in the debate and hopefully continue on afterwards, just about what on earth all this stuff is all about. Because so hopefully it can just be a springboard. I think the thing that I've been thinking about quite a lot as a writer on this project is about characters, and about making and trying to and finding sympathy and seeing them, actually. Being able to see them and love them and be sympathetic to them. I wrote, the play I did before this one was actually quite a bleak play, probably my darkest play, called His Teeth. And I got to a point with that play where the characters were doing really terrible things to each other, in a way. And in this play, it could have gone that way, actually. But what I found is that I learned to really love these people. I really think that I learned to love Miles, even though he is quite creepy, and to love Emerson, and to love Hayley, and even to love Jeanette. And I think that's what's important, actually, is just kind of loving your characters a bit. And I think there's some love in this play. What would I like the audience to take away from watching this play? Well, I don't know, really. I never know. I never know what people are going to think, whether it's when I first hand a script to somebody or when something's on. I just don't. I think I know what people are how people are going to react, but actually it turns out I just don't know. I just don't know how people react, and in a way, it's a bit like the subject of this play is that people's brains are kind of different, as well as being the same. And so some people might quite like the play, and some people might find it terrifying, and some people might find it sort of totally meaningless. So in the spirit of the play, I'd say, well, take away what you want from it. I think in terms of where I've gone personally, it's been, first of all, this question, is there something wrong with my brain, is actually a question that can suddenly hit you and take you down a dark hole. But I think we all go down that hole anyway at some point in our life, just going, why am I different? What's wrong with me? Why is my life different from everybody else's? So I think this play, hopefully, possibly, might take you into that dark hole, and then by the end you might have come out of it and going, actually, well, I don't know who I am yet, but it's all right. Who I am is all right. So I think that's probably my message, is that whoever you are, it's all right. It's probably all right anyway.